Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be comparing a 2022 Toyota Tundra Limited with the TRD off-road package to a 2022 Nissan Titan Pro-4X. Now, I picked out these two particular trucks because they're both similar from an off-road capability standpoint and also from an interior and pricing standpoint as well. Now, before we get into the video, I do want to mention if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get right into the comparison. Starting things off under the hood of the Titan Pro-4X, we have a naturally aspirated 5.6 liter V8 that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 400 horsepower and then 413 pound-feet of torque. We'll talk about fuel economy a little bit later in the video, but pretty simplistic from an engine perspective. Now with the Tundra, we have a twin-turbo 3.5 liter V6. Goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 389 horsepower and then 479 pound-feet of torque. And like I said, we'll talk about fuel economy with both the trucks a little bit later in the video. But two completely different powertrain setups now with these two Japanese trucks. Now, popping back over to the Titan. With the Pro-4X trim, they kind of make it look sportier from an exterior aesthetics perspective. Notice the orange there on the Nissan logo. But basically, what they do is they kind of make everything darker. You can see there with the daytime running lights and then with the LED headlights, but then notice the bezel is darker in coloration. And then you've got some body painted elements down below. And then being the Pro-4X with the off-road package, notice we got the skid plate that's front and prominent, just like on a Raptor. And then you've got the tow hooks that are also very prominent there on the front end as well. And, it just has that cool off-roader aesthetic from a front end perspective, and I think Nissan did a good job with the aesthetics of that truck. Now, being a TRD off-road package, right, similar theme, but this is built off of the Limited. You can get the TRD off-road with multiple packages on the Tundra, but first off, you can see here with the LED lights and then the daytime running lights on the Tundra, just kind of like the futuristic design there with that, and I think it looks good from an appearance standpoint. And then the other thing you'll notice here is being a Limited, this has a lot of chrome. So it's kind of like a mix between some sporty elements and then some kind of like chrome elements. So it's interesting with the combination. Then you got the massive front grille on the new Tundra TRD logo. And then notice that sensor there and then the camera there with the front end. And again, I think it's a great looking truck. And I picked two red trucks because, red to red, right? That was cool. Anyways, from a tire and wheel perspective, with the Pro-4X, you get these nice all-terrain tires. They aren't like super aggressive like what you'll see on a Chevy Trail Boss, F-150 Tremor, or Ram Rebel, but they do a pretty good job. Monotube shocks from Bilstein, if you guys are wondering, is also part of this package to kind of help out with the off-road credibility, right? And I did take this truck off-road, and the tires actually did really well from a grip perspective. I never ran out of grip, and I spent most of the time in two-wheel drive, frankly. And you guys can see here with the fender flares. And speaking of two-wheel drive, something I also want to mention here with the Pro-4X is it has a limited slip differential, which definitely helps out with handling and with grip while you are taking this truck off-road. And then notice there how everything kind of matches with the door handles and the mirrors and all that. And overall, from a side perspective, I think it's got, again, a cool sporty appearance. Popping over to the Tundra with the TRD off-road package, it has all-terrain tires as well, but notice we got bigger wheels. So on the Titan, it's 18-inch wheels. With this, we've got 20-inch wheels. So we do have bigger wheels, but you can see solid tires. And then again, we've got monotube shocks from Bilstein. So we have a similar shock setup. I think it's actually the same exact shock setup. Suspicious. But anyways, tires did fine. I didn't really run out of grip too often with the Tundra. I would have preferred a smaller wheel though. with this package. An 18-inch wheel, just like the Titan, would be awesome. Rock rail, which is definitely practical. And then a big thing with the Tundra over the Titan is this now uses coil suspension in the rear end. The Titan still uses leaf springs, and the difference with the coil suspension is it stays nice and planted. It smooths things out while you're off-road as well, and so there's just kind of a lot of little benefits with that setup, and you guys know I'm all about the coil suspension over leaf springs. Now, popping here to the bed of the Titan, you can see that we have liner and everything from the factory, and then you got some protection there on the tailgate as well. And you have all these little sliders. You got the covers for the sliders on top of that. But again, overall, I think that Nissan did a good job. We got an outlet back there, and then cargo tie downs as well. And so, they just, made things practical from a bed perspective with the Titan. Finishing things up from the rear, I think this is a really strong angle on the new Titan. But this one has a sport bar. So first off, you can see here with the taillights, I love the design on these taillights. I think they look really just good. And notice there with the Pro-4X logo as well. And then you can see here we've got this like little plaque there, similar to like what the Ford Raptor does, which kind of lends to the sporty theme. And then you can see here with the rear bumper, how that's darker to continue there with the sporty theme. This one does have the bumper step, which bumper steps are just something to, as you can see, collect mud and dirt. My TRX has a bumper step, and it does the same thing. It's just always covered no matter what. It is always covered. And yeah, that's the most of the rear there. And then this one does have the sport bar, which is an option that you can get from the factory with the Titan. Gives it cooler looks, and you can add lights on top of it as an accessory, just like what my Ram TRX has. So just look up my TRX videos if you want to see what that kind of looks like. Obviously, it's not a Titan, but you guys get the point. So I think it looks cool, and it's practical because with those lights at the top, it helps out with nighttime visibility off-road a massive, massive amount. And also, I love how they built in the cargo light there into that sport bar. It's kind of cool. Anyways, popping back to the Tundra, here's the key fob. And I know it's got the tailgate drop down there on the key fob. If you guys are wondering with the Nissan, you don't have a tailgate drop down function on the key fob. You do have remote start, though, with both of the trucks. That's integrated in the key fob. And something else to mention here with the Tundra is the tailgate drop down only works if there's not a tonneau cover and if it's not covered in snow, I suppose. But notice that you don't have to worry about scraping paint here with the bed either on the Tundra, which is a huge plus. And something I noticed is the bed liner they're using in some of the packages on the Tundra is really like aggressive, which I like. I like abrasive bed liner because then you know that it's going to keep things in place and not going to be sliding all over the place. So I think it's a positive. And, having a tonneau cover from the factory is great, right? That's going to add to the practicality with being able to keep your stuff secure there in the bed. Now, stylistically, I love the new looks of the Tundra, frankly, especially in person, like the new taillights and everything. I will say, compared to these two trucks, though, I think, and that's just my opinion, I think the Tundra looks a little bit better from the front-end perspective than the Titan looks a little bit better from the rear-end perspective. But that's just my personal opinion on that. But I think they both, they both have pretty cool sporty aesthetics on the outside. I just wish they didn't do so much chrome on the outside of the Tundra. I understand it's limited, but also it's a TRD off-road, so just go all sporty with it. But that's just my personal opinion. You can see the splash guards. You guys remember with the Titan, it actually had little mud flaps, which are a little bit more aggressive than splash guards. And then you got the exhaust tip poking out the back. And you guys heard the exhaust clips with both of them. Big difference between the V8 and the V6 in terms of the sound. Now, popping to the rear of the Titan, first off, I love the contrasted stitching, and then notice you got padding all over. Now, something that I really like about the interiors with the Pro-4Xs, and this includes like the Frontier as well, is they are very easy to clean off. I have dirtied many Nissan interiors, and I can tell you the Pro-4X interiors are very easy to clean, like the dirt and dust and debris off, and so I think they've done a good job with that whole setup. Notice got the underseat storage as well. And then you can see here with the legroom, and just like most modern pickup trucks, there's tons of space there in the rear seating area. If you get the bigger cab configurations with most manufacturers, it's just a nice spacious experience. And you can see you've got some cup holders down here, and then notice got the vents, and then heated seats for the back, and then you can see the charging outlets and all that. in the rear as well. So tons of practicality built into the rear of the Titan, which I definitely appreciate. Popping back over to the Tundra. So here with the limited package, this is going to have a little bit more of a spruced up interior for the Tundra, but notice again it has that same kind of like utilitarian design where it's easy to wash off. And I will say these seats, I do prefer the looks of these seats over the Titan seats, but I will concede that these seats are not going to be as easy to clean off because of all the perforations in them. So you win some, you lose some. You have a cooler looking seat, but then if you take it off for a hood and get it dirty, it's going to be hard to clean off. Notice tons of legroom and headroom as well, just like with the Titan. And so that's another big plus. And then you can see there with the cup holders and the charging ports down below. No heated seats though, so got that going for the Titan. And then notice there with the cup holder armrest set up. But popping back over to the Titan, here's the front door panel. So similar in terms of the design, where they basically have that leather with the stitching and then all of your window controls. And you can see here the speaker for the Fender sound system. And the Fender sound system is actually really solid. It's not like a crazy, like well-known brand, but it bumps, right? And then there's the front seats. You can see again with the stitching and then also the Pro-4X logo. I will say the front seats, if I remember right, they were a little bit more difficult to clean off than the back seats. It seems like things caught in them a little bit more, but still super easy. Anyways, notice the controls there for like the cargo lamp and then to turn on the outlet. And this does have a locker, which is important for off-roading and hill descent control as well. That's one of the big benefits of the Pro-4X is having some of that off-road tech. Steering wheel is power adjustable, which is another cool thing. Popping back over to the Tundra, you can see here with the padding there at the top, and then notice kind of hard touch down below, and then the padding down below that, and then all of your window controls. And then we do have memory seats here, and then blind spot monitoring with the Tundra. Toyota goes heavy into the safety tech, just like Nissan though. And then again with the seats, really cool from a design perspective, and then you can see the padding there. Now, power adjustments, I love the pedals on the Tundra. I think they did a good job with that. That's part of the TRD off-road package though. And then you can see controls for the collision assistance, for example, odometer. Steering wheel is manually adjustable, so that's 1 point away from the Tundra. And then here is your full side view that I did not show earlier. Didn't really get a full side view on the Titan. I do think the Tundra has a better side profile than the Titan. I guess I will comment on that as well. Now, starting up the Titan. Ooh, this is where the fun begins. Cool animation right there. But here's the steering wheel. Again, you can see, it's got nice padding around the steering wheel, but everything's pretty basic from a appearance perspective, but you can tell it looks like they focus on durability with all the controls. It does have adaptive cruise control with it. And then you guys can see here, column shifter with the plus and minus shift through the gears yourself, and you got the tow haul mode. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of column shifters, but it does free up space within the rest of the truck, so it's got its benefits. Anyways, you can see here with the center gauge cluster, notice analog gauges on either side, and then you've got that screen there in the center, which definitely, does look more on the old school side of things from a graphic perspective. But that being said, functionality on it's great. Notice you got like the off-road statuses, which is really important. I love how it shows like your drive line. It's like, this is where the power is going. Now, 17.8 miles per gallon. I do want to talk about this. I had a Tundra for a week and I've had a Titan for a week. I got better fuel economy in the Nissan Titan. I know. Twin turbo V6, you're supposed to get better. So in the Titan, you guys could see 17.8. In the Tundra, I was closer to like 16 and a half miles per gallon with my average. So yeah, it is what it is. But I like how the tow mode is just right there on the column shifter. So it's just easy to access. And then notice it pops up there in the gauge cluster. And you can see it's, there's, and just like most column shifters, there's just like this looseness to it. So it's it's not hard to get it into gear, but it's like you have to look which gear you're in. Whereas with like a console shifter, you're like, okay, I'm in reverse. Okay, I'm in drive. Whereas this, you're like, am I in reverse or neutral or right? Anyways, from a camera system perspective, the Titan does have a really good camera system from a coverage perspective because you've got that 360 camera view. However, the screen isn't, it's big, but it's not huge like what you have in the Tundra. You guys will see that in a moment. But the biggest thing is resolution on the cameras isn't as good as what you have with the Tundra, as you guys will see later in the video. But as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time is fantastic. It's very quick. It's a very easy to use infotainment system. It's got shortcut buttons at the bottom and analog buttons. And so from a user-friendly perspective, I actually would say that I prefer the Titan's infotainment system. Just it's a little bit easier to use, and I feel like if someone was, let's just say, more experienced from an age perspective, they would appreciate this infotainment system more because it would just make a little bit more sense. But notice again, even though the resolution isn't the best, I mean, you have the 360 view, you've got the front camera, so it's got the practicality stuff all figured out from a camera perspective. And so I guess it gets the job done. That's what we'll say about the camera system there with the Titan. And I'm glad they have like a physical camera button too. Now, this is where things get exciting. We got our dual zone climate controls here, and you guys can see a charging port. Notice we got analog buttons for like everything, which I really like. And you can see there with the little charging area. Notice our drive line select. We have 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel high, and then 4-wheel low. No 4-wheel auto with the Nissan Titan. It's kind of interesting. Truck makers still make trucks without 4-wheel auto, but it's okay. Heated, cooled seats. I love the controls for it. Just a little twisty dial. Again, very simple, very straightforward, easy to use. So I think that Nissan did a good job with that as well. And then with the rest of the center console, because it does have that column shifter, notice it's all storage space, right? So that is the benefit to doing a column shifter, is that you free up space here in the center console area. But since most people, I mean, trucks are used as family vehicles, but since most people just drive trucks by themselves most of the time, it's like, who cares about the extra space? That's just me personally, but I understand a lot of people don't share that sentiment. And then look at the stitching there on the dash. It looks really nice. I love the contrast in the interior here. That's not all bland. And then you can see here at the top with the controls for the power sliding rear window. Definitely a nice bit of tech. And then full panoramic sunroof as well. And overall, I think they did a really good job with the usability of the interior. Like I said, physical buttons everywhere. Now, popping to the window sticker here. Yes, this is a 21. I haven't reviewed a 22 yet, but I looked up the specs, and there's not really any significant changes for 2022. If I'm wrong, when I actually review one, I'll let you guys know. But so far, it looks like it's basically just going to be more expensive. Anyways, a lot of stuff is standard with the Titans, and that's just kind of what Nissan does. But they have a few packages added to it. So you guys can see the base price right there around $50,000. But then notice total MSRP is over $61,000. So, you know, pretty pricey. Starting up the Tundra TRD. Ooh, got a cool little graphic animation there. It says Tundra on it, right? Now, here is the steering wheel. So I actually like the steering wheel on the new Tundra. I will say I prefer this steering wheel to the one in the Titan. I think it just looks a little bit nicer, and the grips are a little bit better. And you can see here, we've got adaptive cruise control. You've got it also has steering assistance. And then notice volume controls, all that. And, you know, solid with the steering wheel. And then you can see there with the turn signal light stock and the windshield wiper stock. Popping here to the center. Now, this is kind of interesting. So the Titan has a better gauge cluster, in my opinion, than it's a nicer looking gauge cluster than the Tundra. That being said, in the higher up package Tundras, you can get a full digital gauge cluster, which is better than both of these gauge clusters. But I guess, you know, we got to look at things with this specific comparison. So, you know, it shows all the information you need to see. It's practical, but it just doesn't look as cool as what you have in the Titan. Anyways, you can see with the different drive modes, that's a cool thing about the new Tundra, is that you've got these different drive modes you can go between. But the thing that's interesting is they have their drive modes separated. So you have like the street modes, and then you have the off-road modes that are in a separate tab, which I think is an interesting choice. Now here's the infotainment system. First off, camera system's amazing. Resolution's great with the Tundra. And notice that since we have a huge infotainment system, the camera takes up the whole screen. Like, viewing on this is amazing. And when I took this truck off-road, I was just shocked at how easy it was to go through little obstacles and everything because of the camera system. I could basically spot myself, which I really appreciated. And you have like an off-road view with the camera too, where it shows you like right here, the side views and everything. And it's just tremendously helpful. So I will say that Toyota just did a really good job with their camera system. And I bet Nissan will change something, you know, when they do a refresh or something for the Titan in the next little bit. As for the rest of the infotainment system, you got shortcut buttons there on the side. Response time of the screen's great, but it's not as user-friendly as what you have in the Titan. Dual zone climate controls, heated, cooled seats, you know, all the normal luxury truck stuff that you expect. Locker in the rear And then notice there with the hazard lights, stability control, and then that's to pop on the camera with that weird 360 view that looks super old. And then you got the trailer backup system as well. Notice it'll pop right there and tell you that, hey, you're popping that function on, right? And I feel like they copied that from Ford a little bit. Anyways, you got your parking brake there, shifter for the 10-speed automatic. Again, console shifter, so it does take up a little bit of storage space. It does have a manual shift function, just like the Titan. And then more storage space, and then driveline select, so two-wheel high, four-wheel low. And then notice here with the drive mode select, tow haul mode is in a separate tab, and then the multi-terrain select is like your off-road modes, which is in another separate tab. And then you've got your hill descent control, so like, and crawl control. So yeah, I wish that they would put it all kind of like in one little thing rather than having it separated, but that's just, again, personal preference. And that's kind of what I'm used to with most vehicles. Cup holders, and then I love the center console in the new Tundra, how it has that window. That's definitely cool, so you can quickly check if something's in there or not, and then you can open it up all the way if you need to. I'm telling you, especially when you're driving, like having a window like that, it's so nice. And then glove box, and then notice padding there on the dash. Again, has that kind of utilitarian interior. And then no sunroof on this particular truck. It does have a camera mirror, which is a nice bit of safety tech. Nissan has that in some of their vehicles now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they do. So I'm sure we'll see it in the Titan soon enough. And then the whole window goes down. So we have a better power sliding window there on the Tundra than we do on the Titan. Can say that. Now here's a window sticker for the Tundra. Again, this is a limited TRD off-road. This is, you know, the comparable package to the Pro-4X. Not only from an interior standpoint, but from an off-road standpoint. And from a pricing standpoint, with the off-road stuff, they both have pretty similar amounts of ground clearance. They're both, like the Titan's almost 10 inches and the Tundra is just over 9 inches of ground clearance. But let's fully sum things up with this truck comparison. So first off, I do think that the Tundra is a better looking truck from an exterior aesthetics perspective, but that's just personal preference. From an interior perspective, it's mixed. So the Titan has an interior that's a little bit easier to clean off. The Tundra, I think it has cooler looking seats. I like the Titan's gauge cluster with this specific comparison. I like the Titan's infotainment system a little bit more. It's easier to use, but then the Tundra has a nicer camera system. And then when it comes to driving, the Titan somehow gets better fuel economy with a big naturally aspirated V8. And then it has a limited slip differential, so it handles so well. The Tundra handles really well because of the coil suspension, but with a limited slip differential, I feel like the Titan handles a little bit better. But off-road, the Tundra definitely stays more planted with that coil suspension. And then from an off-road perspective, they both have very similar tech, and so they're just as capable from that perspective. They have like the same shocks, so it's like in similar tire setup and everything. So you're not winning one way or the other or losing one way or the other from an off-road perspective. And then pricing, like we just saw, is pretty much the same. And so here's what I'd have to say is my kind of like final opinion on these two trucks. Is the new Nissan Titan is what people wanted the new Tundra to be, is basically a more modern truck that still has a V8 that has a more modern transmission, whereas the new Tundra is basically like a Japanese version of the Ford F-150 in a sense, where it is, you know, long-term, I'm sure it's going to be more reliable than the F-150, and it's just has a lot like twin turbo V6, all that kind of stuff. And so basically, if you want a modern Tundra, then you buy the Nissan Titan. If you want an alternative to the American trucks from a Japanese automaker, then you go with the Tundra. I know that's a very weird conclusion to make. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know which truck you guys liked more, and that's all.